Greeny. First 4 games, Kyler Murray sacked 20 times. Last 2 games, sacked 1 time. They're figuring out how they play as a football team, and it's having really good results on the field.
Okay, all them damn highlights was against the Falcons and the Bengals.
Oh, you stop it.
This was the worst team in the NFL last year. I think Dan's got a point. Finally, let's talk about the 49ers defense. Ooh. They are dominating. They lead the NFC in points and yards allowed. Is this actually the best defense in football, Swagoo?
Absolutely.
Wow.
And if you are saying they're not, you ain't watched them yet. The number one thing is when you have a defensive line that can stop the run, and when it's third rush to passer, and guess what they can do, G? They can win 4 one-on-ones. Very rarely do you have 4 guys that can win a one-on-one. DeForest Buckner, Armstead, obviously Bosa, and D Ford. Are you kidding me? This is the best defense in football right now, and the offense is playing into
the
their
folks
hands.
in Chicago and New England would like a conversation. Listen, this defense has been great. John Lynch right now is making a case for Executive of the Year. Marcus mentioned those draft picks.
And keep an eye on this. Vegas is starting to notice for the 49ers. They entered Week 1 40-1. Now just 8-1, 4th shortest odds in the league, 2nd shortest in the conference, behind New Orleans. Sneaky big news. Elle?
All right, let's talk about the ALCS, which continues tonight as the series comes here to New York. It's in the Bronx. You've got Luis Severino opposed by Garrett Cole, with the series all tied at 1. Cole allowed just 1 earned run in 15 2/3 innings in the ALDS, and he's going to try to continue his dominance against the Yankees lineup. We're here now with Tex, and look, we're not even going to talk about Game 3. We're going to actually talk about Game 4 because there is potential for a rain out tomorrow. They're expecting inclement weather here in New York. If that's the case, then these teams will have to play 4 straight games. There will be no off day. If that happens, who has the advantage?
Well, usually it's not a big deal when you talk about rain because baseball players play through different weather and, suspended games and whatever all season long. The problem is, if you're the Yankees, you need to rely on your bullpen. This Astros team is 5 for 37 against the Yankees bullpen so far in the series. And if those guys now have to pitch 4 games in a row and you have to win 2 or 3 of those games, it is a huge disadvantage for the Yankees because they do not have the starting pitchers that can give them a lot of length.
Do you think that this could potentially impact the series? Because yesterday on this show, you said you think this is still firmly in the Yankees' control.
I was loving the Yankees yesterday, and this is the thing. If you lose tonight to Garrett Cole and you're down 2-1, if Game 4 gets pushed back a day and now you have to win 3 out of 4 games and rely on your bullpen 3 out of 4 games in a row, that's going to be very difficult.
Okay, quickly then, Game 3, a prediction tonight. I know you said the Yankees need to win it. Are they going to?
This rain is messing me up. I still think that Garrett Cole is the most dominant pitcher in baseball right now. Garrett Cole wins tonight.
Mark Teixeira. We'll see what happens and the impact that potentially the rain could have tomorrow, Greeny. Meanwhile, let's go back to the NBA, yeah?
We got so much stuff going on this morning. Matt Barnes has joined us.
Hey.
Good to have you, my man. Obviously, the great Jay Will. And I want to show you guys some pretty pictures of Steph Curry playing basketball last night. It's a preseason game against the Lakers. LeBron didn't play in this game, so there's not really a whole lot of reason for me to narrate all the things you're going to be seeing. But suffice it to say, you'll see Steph Curry doing Steph Curry-like things. And that will give you, Jay Will, the opportunity to explain yourself when I've heard you say,
yes,
you don't think the Warriors are going to make the playoffs this year.
I think they will barely miss it. They will barely miss it. I think Steph will have an MVP caliber type year. This is the worst defensive team that Steve Kerr has had in his reign being there with the Warriors. Remember, they lost Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston. They don't have Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson will be out potentially until March. That puts a lot of the pressure on Steph to carry the entire load offensively.
Nobody plays defense anymore, and you got to think about it. This is the first time in maybe 5 years there hasn't been any pressure. You're right. There hasn't been any pressure on them. I think they'll fly under the radar. They'll get in the playoffs, and no one's going to want to see them in the first round.
Are they, if they do get Klay back healthy, because just making the playoffs for a team that's been in the finals every year is really not much of an accomplishment. If they do get Klay back healthy, do you think this can be a team that can do some damage in the playoffs?
I think it depends on how quickly Klay gets acclimated and D'Angelo Russell fits once Klay is back.
Let me say this. Stephen Curry, the highest usage rate he's probably going to have for a long time, right? Now, with that comes potentially, they're one injury away. If something happens to him,
or
something happens to D'Lo or Draymond, that's when they're right on the outside looking in. That's how crazy
that's for sure. But that could be said of so many teams, right? I mean, if LeBron James gets hurt, then we're not having that conversation about the Lakers. Let's talk about
I still think we're talking about the Lakers in the playoffs if LeBron gets hurt.
I mean, they didn't make the playoffs last year, where they had LeBron most of the year. Now, they have Anthony Davis. I get that. You are very high. I heard you earlier this morning talking with Al. Lakers, Clippers, which is the battle everyone is watching. You like the Lakers but love the Clippers.
I do. I think the Clippers are the best defensive team there will be in the NBA. And now a lot of that is dependent upon Paul George and that shoulder injury, him coming back full health. But full healthy? I mean, they're talking about Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Montrezl Harrell and Lou Will.
I agree with you, Jay, from the standpoint. I really like the Lakers on paper. They look great, but think about it. This past summer, they had at one point 2 or 3 guys on their roster. So to be able to build the roster they did, hats off to the management. But it takes a lot for chemistry. You know how important chemistry is in the locker room, on and off the floor. Clippers, on the other hand, have a team that completely bought in last year with no superstars. You add 2 of the most selfless superstars in the game that go both ways. Obviously, Paul George's shoulder is going to be a big concern, but I think it's the Clippers' championship to lose this year.
I'm with you all the way up till that point because I think the Clippers will have a better record than the Lakers during the season for all the reasons you are naming. But if you get into a playoff situation where it does come together well, I'm going to have a very tough time picking against LeBron and Anthony Davis.
It's going to be tough. I mean, arguably probably the best duo in the game. There's some notable mentions, but it's a tough combination to go
against. It's an historically great duo. It is one of the greatest duos in the history of the game.
Agreed. Remember this, though. We talk about nobody playing defense and the season being long. Being a top 4 seed in the West, getting that home court advantage is a pretty big thing.
Absolutely.
So it's a major thing. And actually, I take my comment back. I retract it back about
yes.
LA not having LeBron. Not
Thank you. I demand that you do.
I take it back.
Let's talk about your buddy from Duke there, Zion Williamson. Does he get his team into the playoffs this year?
I think they're going to be right there. I mean, all the teams in the NBA, they have the topmost 100 guys. They have 6 top 100 guys. And I'm also going to say this. He does not need the ball to be active. I mean, one game, I think, against the Bulls, he had 29 points and 12 or 13 shooting. I just have him penciled in as Rookie of the Year.
Just playing hard. I think they're a team with a unique makeup of rookies, veterans, role players. Guys like J.J. Redick are going to be huge in the locker room. Alvin Gentry finally has a team he can really do something with. And like you said, I think they'll be one of the teams that plays so hard that they're definitely going to have a chance to get in at the end.
What are guys in the league, so many people, myself, are just excited to see what Zion can do. But are guys in the league, will they be put off by the hype, and will they all be gunning for him as they face him during this season?
I think we live in an era where everything is going to be overhyped, and people are always going to, he could have did this. Everyone's talking about he's not shooting. You got to stop what he's doing. They said Shaq couldn't shoot, but they still couldn't stop him. You know what I mean? So I think Zion, with time, will develop his range and have more confidence in him. But just like Jay Will said alone, his athleticism, how hard he plays, and the way he runs, he's going to be in that 16 to 20-point range.
And just to tie it all back together, Granny, you talk about a target.
Yeah.
Think for a second. There's a major target on the Golden State Warriors.
Sure.
Too,
there's no question.
Right? Like the beating that they put on people with the last 4 or 5 years.
Down. You got to kick them while
people
they're
are going to be going at them. They're going to be targeted.
NBA starts 1 week from today, and we're looking forward
knows
to it.
about that.
Meanwhile, tonight on ESPN, our 30 for 30 film is Chuck and Tito exploring the rivalry between Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz that brought the UFC into the mainstream. That's tonight, 9 Eastern on ESPN and on the ESPN app.
Sounds like a cocktail.
And we hope that you will get up with us tomorrow. Will the Panthers, as they're sitting at 4-0 with Kyle Allen, should they consider making a deal involving Cam Newton? NFL owners meeting this week. Will officiating be front and center? And how will the result of Astros-Yankees today play out on the rest of the series? Get up with us tomorrow morning, 8 Eastern.